Hello, I'm here with UFC Bantamweight Fernie Garcia. He's fighting Journey Newson next month at UFC 274, making his debut. So before we get into your fight, we're coming off one of the best UFC pay-per-views ever this weekend. You had the Hamzat fight, Sterling upset Volkanovski. Did you get a chance to watch, and what did you think of those fights?
Yeah, man, they were great fights. I was really entertained by all of them. Um, I had Burns winning. Let me throw that out there. I had Burns winning. Sterling kind of proves me wrong. I didn't think he had it in him to compete against Jan, and obviously he did. I don't mind that decision at all. So I thought Sterling. I thought that decision was fine. I thought Burns won, and those were my favorite fights of the card.
So what did you see out of that Burns fight that you thought gave him the nod over Hamzat?
I just think he took over on the third. I mean, the first he lost. I think the second he clearly won. And I think the third he almost had him out. He landed the power punches towards the end. The damage he did a lot more damage on the third, and I don't think it was as close as people think that it was. I think he clearly won those 2 rounds.
Wow. Yeah, I respect it. It was definitely, I had Hamzat. I thought Hamzat edged him out in the third, but it definitely, it
But
was, I could see
I
it going
just
either
for
way.
me the fact that he was almost done. I'm like that had to have been very important,
Yeah.
in the fight, and the fact that it happened in the third round and he didn't get that round. I mean, that's crazy.
No doubt for sure. So you personally, you're riding a 5-fight win streak, and you have been leading fights to the judges yourself, coming off a first round knockout in the Contender Series. So on this hot streak, how high is your confidence coming into the debut?
Pretty high, man. I mean, pretty high. I'm on a fight win streak, my second one actually. So I'm really confident. I'm really confident that I'm gonna take this fight win streak and extend it to 10 fights. I don't see anybody beating me right now in the division. I don't know if that's just weird confidence or what, but I think I match up well against a lot of these bantamweights in the division.
Yeah, I'd agree. So we talked about your last fight. It was the Contender Series. You came through first round knockout. Now you get the contract. You have your debut. So obviously the Contender Series, that's a big high pressure fight. Is that in a sense almost more pressure than the debut, or how do they kind of compare against each other?
I think 100% that's more pressure than the UFC fight. Even even if, like, for example, if I was in the UFC and I was gonna fight an LFA fight next month, I would be a lot more nervous. It's so much more pressure fighting outside the UFC just because you're talented enough to fight in the UFC, and if something happens and you fumble in there and you don't get the W, you're not gonna make it to the UFC. So to me, that's what all the pressure was about. Like, not making the UFC. That's why I was so nervous, and that's where the pressure came from in my fights. Even in the contender, like I've been working for this for 10 years, and the fact that if I lost in the contender, like my dream was over right there and then. That was nerve wracking. And
Yeah,
now
it's
that I
almost
finally got, yeah,
okay.
man. I mean, now that I got signed, it's like a huge weight off my shoulders. I can kind of just relax. I'm in the UFC. I completed my goal, and now I'm just fighting to have fun.
Yeah, it's almost like one loss pre UFC is way bigger of a setback in your career than a loss in the UFC because you're gonna
Hundred
have to
percent,
yeah.
100%. I was just terrified of not being able to showcase my skills in the UFC. So I think that's why I was just really nervous fighting outside the UFC. But once I'm fine, now I'm fighting the UFC. I don't feel any pressure. I'm not nervous. I'm just, got to do what I got to do now and show what I got.
Yeah, and now the UFC is in this weird post-COVID state where like half the cards are in front of no fans, and the other half is in front of like completely packed arenas. So you're lucky
Yeah,
enough; your debut is going to be in Phoenix, full arena. I assume this is going to be the biggest crowd you've ever fought in front of. You're the first fight on the whole card. So how do you think fighting in front of such a big crowd is? Do you think it's going to affect your fight style at all, or are you ready for it?
no, I don't think it'll affect it. If anything, I think it'll enhance my fighting. I mean, if you've seen my fights, they're all boxing fights. Basically, I force people into boxing me by shutting their takedowns down. I have a wrestling background as well, but I like to box people and pressure them and overwhelm them with pressure and jabs to the face. And I think that's what the crowd likes. So I think it's in my favor that we're fighting inside an arena. I mean, if I was a boring wrestler and I would just take people down and grind them out and just kind of be boring, I'd be a little nervous about the booze. But no, man, not worried about that at all.
Yeah, I have seen your fights, and I think you're especially fighting in front of a packed crowd. You're going to become a fan favorite very quickly. But I was stalking your social media, and one of your friends is a good friend of this program, Damon Jackson. We love Damon. You said he's kind of paved the way for Texas MMA. So, what's your relationship like with him, and like what's his impact been on you?
Damon Jackson is like my older brother. We train together 3-4 times a day. He coaches me personally. He's yeah, of course he's a teammate, but he's also a coach. He's a coach to me and he's a mentor to me. Um, when I was 5-0, I lost my first fight, and he took me in. He took me in, and he was like, "You're gonna train with me 3 or 4 times a week now, and you're never gonna lose again, and you're gonna get so much better." And that's what's happened. I started training with him personally 3 or 4 times a week in wrestling, and my game's improved so much. And ever since, I mean, my fights have been so much better. I feel like I can box more now that my wrestling's getting better.
Right. Yeah. Damon's the man. He's coming off a big win. And I saw he called out Patty Pimblett. So I'd love to see that one too. I think that would be an awesome fight for him.
He would it's crazy, but he would crush Patty. Damon is so talented, and nobody even knows yet. I don't think he's even showed. Like I'm happy for him that he barely kind of proving to the UFC how good he is in his last 2 fights, but he's just so much better than what he's shown. Like they don't even know how good he is, so I just can't wait for so you can show everybody how good he is.
Yeah, I think he has really big things coming for him. And definitely guys slept on for sure. But
For
you're
sure.
coming into the bantamweight division, and I'd argue that it's the most stacked division in the UFC. You talked, tons of talent at the top. You talked earlier about your confidence. So I know it's early, haven't you made your debut yet, but how do you envision yourself stacking up against a lot of the guys at the top of that
Yeah,
division?
man, that division is a mess. I think I think from 15 to 30, ranked 15 to 30, they all could be in the top 15. They're all so good. It's such a messy division. It's like you're fighting a number 16 or 17 guy in the world, and he can easily be, number 6 or 7. That's how stacked that division is. So I'm just excited to even mess it up even more, man. I'm excited to go in there, and people are gonna start wondering, well, like, where does Fernie fit in? Like, damn, he's beating all these guys. But that's just my vision for now. I don't want to get too ahead of Journey. He's a dangerous guy. He could put you out at any given moment. So we're focusing in on there. But I mean, like I said, I think I match up well against a lot of these guys. Um, I mean, I have no holes in my game. I mean, I have a wrestling background, really good takedown fans, good counter wrestler, good grappler, good jiu-jitsu, and they're gonna have to deal with my pressure, and they're gonna get forced to try to wrestle or make a mistake, and that's where I shine.
Yeah, like I said, I've seen your fights, and I'm so beyond pumped to see your debut, see what you're going to bring to the UFC. I think we're going to see you in some big fights really soon. But I also know you're a big 49ers fan. So do we think that they're going to repeat success this season? What do you think Trey Lance is going to do? Debo Samuel,
Uh,
think we're making a run?
I think Lance is a winner, and I think he's learned a lot behind Jimmy. And I think Kyle Shanahan's one of the smartest coaches out there, and I think he's gonna put him in a winning situation, and he'll figure out how to make him win. And I think we'll have some success. I think Debo will end up staying, and I think we'll have success again this year.
So was it awesome living in Dallas and being a 49ers fan after that game?
Well, a lot of people kind of just ask me that because my dad is a huge Cowboys fan. My dad growing up, like my dad's a huge Cowboys fan. So when I was little, like of course my dad's like he's been a coach and a mentor to me all my life. So I was like, well, I like the Cowboys too. Like he likes them, I like them. But then my mom and my sisters and my cousins, they're all diehard 49ers fans. My uncles, like my entire family except for my dad, they're all big Niners fans. So I was kind of like split in between. I kind of grew kind of liking both, and then at a certain age, people were like, "You can't do that. You can't like that. You can't like Dallas and the Niners." So I kind of just stayed. I kind of just stayed quiet about it since I like both teams. I mean, I love Dallas. I've been in Dallas for 7 years now, and growing up in Texas, I was also love the Cowboys since I love my dad so much. He loves, he's a big Cowboys fan. So it's just super awkward, kind of growing up with two families and split with the Niners and the Cowboys. So now that I'm in Dallas, I mean, I kind of even fallen in love with the Cowboys even more. But like I said, my entire family are diehard Niners fans.
Okay, so you're kind of used to being split between the two teams anyway.
Sure.
Living in Dallas, have you been to that stadium yet?
Yeah, I've been there a couple times.
Nice.
The first year I was here, I was there. Dak's first year, I was there a couple times, and this year I was able to catch. Uh, I caught the damn Denver game out of all games, and
Oh,
we
and they
got
just
shut out
like
by
shot the bed.
Denver Broncos, and that was ridiculous. And the Broncos were they sucked and they killed us. So I ended up watching that game, but definitely gonna catch a couple next year for sure.
Yeah, I remember that Denver game.
I
That
was
was
able to catch the Dallas Niner game. My entire family came and you know I had again half Niners and my dad had the Cowboy jersey.
okay. Yeah, I imagine that got pretty tense, especially towards the end when they're just running at the clock with the game on
That's
the line.
crazy.
Yeah. So last question. Again, thanks so much for coming on. So you're making your debut now. You're all in on the MMA career. So what was the last job you had before you got to say, I'm out of this work and stuff, and I'm just gonna be a fighter?
I was a I was at Wells Fargo, man. I was a banker at Wells Fargo. I was there for a couple of years. I graduated and went straight into Wells Fargo, and I loved there, man. I loved working at Wells Fargo. Easy 9 to 5, just banking, super easy. I actually love that job. Uh, I had to, decline a couple of promotions because I had to work more hours and I was still training. But I was working at Wells Fargo ever since I was like 3-0 up until I was like 9-1, and then I had to kind of quit to go all in MMA, and thankfully it worked out.
Yeah, it definitely worked out. That's funny. That's definitely. I asked your friend Damon that question too. And your answer is definitely a little different than him. I think he was into some like dirty job shit, like hunting in the woods, some crazy shit like that.
Yeah,
But
of course it was.
definitely a little different than Wells Fargo. But Fernie Garcia, you're fighting Journey Newsome, UFC 274. Good luck, man. Thanks so much for doing this.
Hey, thanks for having me, bro.
Thanks,
Anytime,
man.
man. Let me know whenever I'll be here.
Of course, man. Have a good one. Thank you.